I like zero. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Steve McLaughlin.
Good evening. Good evening and welcome to the College of Engineering Alumni Awards induction ceremony. For those of you I didn't have a chance to meet at the reception, I'm Steve McLaughlin. I'm the dean of the largest, most diverse, and certainly very best College of Engineering in America. I think I'm done. Tonight is a very special event, not only for our illustrious award winners, but also for everyone here, including me, because this is my first College of Engineering Alumni Awards ceremony as dean. Before we begin with the awards, please enjoy this short video. For those who traveled a long way to Atlanta for this occasion, welcome home. While this evening is about our new inductees, I'd like to ask if there are any former honorees here among us. Would you please stand so that we can give you a round of applause? I'd also like to give a shout out to the folks from Jacobs Engineering who have turned out to support one of their own, Zakiya Seymour, who is part of the young engineering alumni that will be recognized tonight. Will the Jacobs group also please stand? Thank you. Welcome. I'd also like to recognize some very special guests tonight. We're honored here to have Dr. Raphael Bras, our esteemed provost, and his wife, Pat. Would you and Pat please stand to be recognized? For those of you who find yourself in a leadership position, you know that success largely depends on the achievements of many others who contribute to the organization. That is certainly the case for me as dean. So at this moment, I'd like to introduce the school chairs in the college who work so incredibly hard to lead the engineering programs at Tech. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing. Vigor Yang, Chair and William R. T. Oakes Professor, the Daniel Guggenheim School of Aerospace Engineering. Susan Margulies, Wallace H. Coulter Chair, the Wallace H. Coulter Department of Biomedical Engineering at Georgia Tech and Emory. David Scholl, John F. Brock III School Chair, the School of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering. Don Webster, who on May 1st will become the Karen and John Huff School Chair, the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering. Rahim Bia, Interim Steve W. Chaddock School Chair, the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering. Edwin Romaine, the H. Milton and Carolyn J. Stewart School Chair, the H. Milton Stewart School of Industrial and Systems Engineering. Naresh Tadani, School Chair, the School of Material Science and Engineering. And Bert Bross, Interim Eugene C. Gwaltney Jr. Chair, the George W. Woodruff School of Mechanical Engineering. We're so incredibly grateful to each of you that contribute so much to making the college a world leader in engineering research, education, and innovation. And now I'm very pleased to introduce our guest hosts for this evening. I believe that one thing that sets our alumni apart from other engineering schools is our commitment to help develop the leaders of the future. Our host tonight, retired General Phil Breedlove, embodies that commitment. Raised in Forest Park, Georgia, Phil graduated from Tech with a civil engineering degree. He was commissioned in 1977 as a distinguished graduate of Georgia Tech's Air Force ROTC program. His career trajectory has been phenomenal, to say the least. He's been assigned to numerous operational, command, and staff positions, as well as completing 9 overseas tours. He's commanded a fighter squadron, an operations group, 3 fighter wings, and the 3rd Air Force located in Germany. He's flown more than 3,500 hours, primarily in an F-16, and has overseen military operations covering 105 countries and 19 million square miles. Additionally, Phil has served as Vice Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force, Operations Officer in the Pacific Command Division on the Joint Staff, and up until recently, he was Commander, Supreme Allied Command Europe. Those are only a few of the brief highlights. The footnote to this amazing biography is that General Breedlove has returned to Georgia Tech as a distinguished professor in the Sam Nunn School of International Affairs. He's continuing to share his leadership skills and knowledge with faculty, staff, and students on the campus. We're extremely proud of his accomplishments and for the time that he's giving to us here tonight, especially in light of the fact that he's a first-time grandfather just 1 week ago. Please join me in welcoming General Phil Breedlove. Well done.
Okay, I thought I know what I was going to say until I saw Ailish, and now I'm all messed up. That's our first grandbaby, as you heard, and I am smitten. I'm in love all over again. So thank you for having me here. It's a bit daunting to stand up here in the middle of all this talent, but I am here tonight to share my pride in our school and people from our school. I was proud to receive this award back in 2013. Sadly, I couldn't be here. I was in the Kunduz province of Afghanistan dodging rocket-propelled grenades at the time. But I was honored to be a part of what you will see tonight, and honored to join the group that you will hear about tonight. At our last GTAB meeting, and I get to serve on the GTAB, our dean shared with us his vision. And I thought it was incredibly clear, and you can see it on this slide. Fearless in an age of acceleration, talking about Georgia Tech engineers. Fearless in an age of acceleration, fearless in the face of complex challenges. I'm really gassed, if you can't tell, about how this describes the engineers of these schools that you just heard announced a few minutes ago. Across the time that I was the #2 person in the Air Force and looking at our Georgia Tech engineers as they were out in the workforce doing things for our nation, this is exactly what they represented to me. They were men and women that could make our nation's toughest problems go away. Georgia Tech's engineers are known for fixing things, for solving problems, for making things work out there in really tough places. So when I was asked to speak tonight, I'm thinking, what in the world am I going to speak to 1,000 people smarter than me? And I got my inspiration, sadly, from my very dear friend. Next slide. I got my motivation from Admiral James Sandy Winnefeld, who he and I served together as essentially the #2 and #3 military men in our nation. We were roommates here. We were fraternity brothers. We lived together for 3 years, and then we went on to serve, each of us, for almost 40 years in our military. And why do I bring Sandy up tonight? Because I think his story is about an engineer that is fearless in an age of acceleration and fearless in the face of complex challenges. Sandy is frankly one of the smartest and most dedicated men I've known. He and his wife, Mary, faced one of the most complex challenges I think you could ever have, and that is the loss of a son. And how that man has faced this challenge and taken it and turned it for good is what I think about tonight we should talk about for Georgia Tech engineers. Losing a son to a terrible addiction in his first 10 days of college. And how do you deal with that? How do you move forward? What Sandy did is create an organization that now raises money and is addressing the challenges and the policy at the national level of these kind of addictive losses. And so this is a man who is fearless in the face of complex challenges. This is a family that is fearless in an accelerated place that you and I pray we never have to go. So when I thought about Sandy, I thought, what else is going on at Tech? Who else are setting these kinds of examples for us? Tonight, we are going to honor a lot of young men and women who are doing magnificent work as engineers. I want to just tell you about a few people who are outside of their engineering, outside of the great stuff they're doing to represent our school. They are also doing what Sandy has done, which is taking on some of those challenges of our nation. And so I went to our living history historian. If you haven't met her in her program, you need to. And I started talking to them about who are some of our engineers who are serving above and beyond their engineering skills in ways similar to what Sandy and Mary have done. And the sad news is there were so many, it nearly killed me to choose who we would talk about tonight because I'm already 3 minutes into my allotted 10 minutes. And so I have to move very quickly. So I chose about 5, 2 that I'll mention and 3 that I'll also talk about what they do and how proud I am of how they represent our school outside of their engineering talents. Dr. Urena Onewuchi, one of the easiest choices I ever made. Professionally, doing incredible research on the environmental hazards associated with installation of power grids. Urena, would you wave wherever you're at? There she is back there. But what we're not here tonight is to talk about her engineering prowess. What we're really here to talk about is her extensive volunteering in Africa, specifically her home nation of Nigeria. She's founded an organization for mentoring and partnering with high school students. She challenges young students not just to graduate, but to make a difference. She's a champion of affordable and clean, sustainable energy solutions and driving sustainable development in the continent of Africa. And so this is the kind of engineer you have out there. Dr. John Burson. So go to the next slide so I can make my joke. You know I had to pick at least one other military person. First a Tech professor, and then he went on to med school to become a physician and a surgeon. Beyond that, an incredible philanthropist with innumerable scholarships to his name. But why did I pick him? Here's why I picked him. Our nation needed surgeons in Afghanistan when we were losing a lot of our young men and women over there. And our nation started a medical boots on the ground campaign to ask people to come back and serve. In a ripe age beyond 70, John has volunteered for 3 tours in Iraq and 2 tours in Afghanistan. If that's not above and beyond. I think it's going to be a challenge for me when I get past 70 just to put on the what we call battle rattle and walk around, and he wears it proudly. Next slide, please. Jimmy Mitchell, a fellow civil engineer, passionate about sustainability, sees opportunities where others don't. And part of that was a picture you see here of a garden that he started near the Atlanta mission to support the Atlanta mission. But that's really small beans to what he's done in recycling. Jimmy, wave to the crowd, please. 3.6 million tons of materials salvaged from our landfills and construction sites, and all of that profiting 140 nonprofits who want to build. That's what Jimmy has put together from Opportunity. Next slide, please. Dr. Roe Stamps founded a family foundation that supports 1,000 students in 40 universities with Stamps President Scholarships. And the brightest of the bright on those scholarships get a free ride. And what's more important is the notes that I saw over and over again. This is not something done from a distance in an antiseptic way. Dr. Stamps is personally involved with these students. And finally, Jose Montero, President and CEO of Montero Group in Media Innovation. You would think he's pretty busy. He started a really innovative program called Trekking for Kids. Jose, wave to the crowd. Where are you? Founded a nonprofit called Trekking for Kids, where he raises funds for orphanages around the world. And when the people who start a trek to raise money raise their funds, an orphanage work is begun where one is either built or repaired, and then the folks that are supporting it arrive at the end of their trek to be there with the locals and the students and the young orphans that are going to benefit, to finish the work and to meet the people that they are going to benefit. So I think I'm dangerously close to the end of my 10 minutes. Let me close with this. This is all about Georgia Tech engineers. But it's not about their engineering. It's about their hearts. Georgia Tech engineers, fearless in an age of acceleration, fearless in the face of complex challenges. I couldn't be more proud to stand amongst them. Thank you very much. So my next duty is to announce the good news that now we can enjoy our entree. Okay, we can do this the polite way or we can do this the military way. Those still talking in a minute will commence push-ups. I see some volunteers in the back over here on the right that want to do push-ups. All right. Can we have your attention, please? Tonight I have the honor of co-hosting this year's induction ceremony with Steve to recognize the newest members of the Council of Outstanding Young Engineering Alumni, Academy of Distinguished Engineering Alumni, the Engineering Hall of Fame, and the College of Engineering Impact Award. We not only welcome our award winners who are here, but also their families and friends who have joined us to celebrate this evening. Let's give them now all together a round of applause. No one succeeds in life through just his or her own efforts, and we say thank you to all of you for what you have done to make tonight possible. So we can all get to know our winners in a more personal way, we have asked our new Council of Outstanding Young Engineering Alumni and the Academy of Distinguished Engineering Alumni to answer one of the three following questions. What was your most memorable or rewarding experience at Tech? What words of advice would you give a current student? Or last, how has Tech impacted your career? So stay tuned to learn what each has had to say. Assisting tonight is one of our outstanding students, Juliana Mena. Juliana came to Georgia Tech from Venezuela and is majoring in industrial engineering. Let's give Juliana a hand. We begin by recognizing our Council of Outstanding Young Engineering Alumni. These rising stars are starting to build their own legacy for the future. The Council acknowledges alumni who at an early stage of their career have distinguished themselves through professional practice and/or service to Georgia Tech, the engineering profession, or society at large. We are truly fortunate to recognize them for what they have done. But I have a feeling that their most significant accomplishments are yet to come. Honorees, as your name is called, please come to stage right to accept your award and to take a photo.
Yanni Feng. Yanni gave some advice to current students and said, "Always play to your strength. We've always been trained to focus on our weaknesses and learn how to improve our deficiencies. By only focusing on our weaknesses, in the best case, would result in a well-rounded individual with no outstanding strength. While it's important to understand areas of improvement, it's equally important to understand your strength. Focus on marketing your strength, developing your strength, and applying your strength to solve challenges. The earlier you can learn to leverage your strength, the earlier you start to reap the benefits of competing with your best foot forward." Chris Lee. Chris related what he would tell a tech student. Make sure you enroll in the classes and pursue the activities that interest you, not the ones that are expected of you. Sounds straightforward, but this is extremely difficult for those that feel pressured by family and friends to attend elite graduate programs or work at prestigious companies. My success started when I ignored the expectations for me and focused only on the opportunities that excited me. It has made all the difference in the world. Marilyn Minus. Marilyn shared with us her most memorable moment at Tech. My most memorable times were the Saturdays working in the lab all day, followed by watching Yellow Jackets football under the lights. The fall of 2004 was especially memorable, from watching Calvin Johnson make spectacular game-winning catches to setting foundation of my doctoral research by spinning my first batches of successful fibers in fibrillar crystals. These were rewarding times. Bobby Noble. Bobby also gave words of advice to current students in saying, "For current students, my advice would be to make the most of each and every opportunity set before you. During my time at Tech, there were so many chances to network and make contacts that allow you to be extremely well connected, not only within academia, but also in your industry. I would also say, stay the course. Tech's rigorous courses will prepare you for the challenges you will face in the next phase of your life, wherever that may take you." Sakia Seymour. Zakiya shared her experience with current students by saying, "Start your journey by forgetting. Forget all that you know or think you know. Forget the word impossible and learn to create possibilities. Forget that you failed yesterday, as you get to try again today. Forget the loss of physics, because you might have to discover new ones. Forget your mental red tape so you can break your personal rules. Tech is your conduit to a future you. Your role is to forget the old you. Jonna Stick. Jonna also had advice for current students saying, pay attention to the underlying principles. Tech teaches you to think outside the box and apply basic concepts to solve complex problems. You'll have to work harder than you did in high school, but you will be prepared to add value to a business. Additionally, find time to join an organization that has meaning to you. Networking with staff and fellow classmates could be beneficial for your career. Focusing on your studies is important, but you will be better prepared for life if you're well-rounded and can multitask.
So please join me in congratulating our 2018 Council of Outstanding Young Engineering Alumni. Now we move up a notch in seniority to induct the 2018 Academy of Distinguished Engineering Alumni. As compared to the young engineering alumni who may want their children thinking about going to Georgia Tech, we will now induct folks who are old enough to have children who are Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. The Academy recognizes alumni who, while still in the active stage of their career, have made significant contributions to the profession, field, institute, or society. These individuals and their work demonstrate how diverse a career path can be based upon an engineering degree earned from Georgia Tech. They were also asked to respond to the questions: what was your most memorable or rewarding experience at Georgia Tech? What words of advice would you give a current student? Or how has Tech impacted your career? You will be able to listen to their answers in their own voices. Honorees, as your name is called, please come to stage right to accept your award.
David Clapham.
The best decision I ever made at Georgia Tech was enrolling in a course taught by Dr. Louis D. Felice in my senior year in electrical engineering. Lou became a lifelong mentor in my scientific career.
My favorite Georgia.
Jan Davis.
My favorite Georgia Tech tradition is the rat cap. When I received my rat cap and started wearing it, I immediately felt a part of a long-standing tradition of this storied institution, and I thought about the many great Georgia Tech students before me who had worn one. I was proud to be a part of the Georgia Tech family and wear my rat cap, especially for Rats on the Field. It was a privilege and an honor to be a Georgia Tech student and now an alumnus, and this feeling has continued throughout my career. Little did I know when I first put on my rat cap how far my Georgia Tech education would take me.
Ann Duncan.
My time at Georgia Tech included good, questionable and downright bad decisions, like the quarter I decided it would be a good idea to take 21 credit hours. I understand that academic advising is better now and would stop a freshman from making that kind of decision. But I think the best decision I made had little to do with my future and everything to do with making tech a better place. When Charles Bobo asked me to help him found the Gay and Lesbian Student Alliance, the forerunner of the current Pride Alliance, I said yes. It was not easy coming out to the entire campus in the 1980s at the height of the AIDS epidemic. We received hate mail, crank phone calls, and even death threats. But we also discovered that even then, the majority of the Georgia Tech community was welcoming. In short order, but not without controversy, including lively debates in the technique, we were officially recognized by SGA and given a modest budget. We demonstrated that tech students would embrace diversity and create a safe space for LGBTQ students that still exists today. Being part of that was certainly my best decision as a student.
Greg Foster.
As SGA president and as a member of ANAC, I am most proud of my decision to push for the creation of Tech's first real, comprehensive honor code and system. My decision to dedicate my full year as student body president toward that singular end has had, I believe, a profoundly positive impact on the culture of Georgia Tech, and my decision to solicit the help of my fellow ANAC members, which included the technique editor, the vice president of SGA, and the person who would ultimately become my successor in SGA, was without a doubt the best decision I was part of during my time at Tech. I am so proud to see that the code remains vibrant and has become part of the fabric of the institute for which we designed and implemented it.
Ashley Hancock.
My favorite GT tradition is Yellow Jacket football. My earliest memories of Tech football were during the Pepper Rogers years of the late 70s. The son of two biologists who met at the University of Alabama, I grew up an Alabama fan. My belief is that my father, a career professor at Berry College, secretly wanted to direct me toward engineering and began luring me to Tech by listening to games together on the radio. I became a big fan, and as Bill Curry built a strong program during my high school years, I was hooked and had migrated in that direction academically as well. My first quarter at Tech was Curry's final season, and during the Ross years I didn't miss a single game, especially of that magical 1990 championship season after I graduated and had moved away. I bought my first season tickets in 1992 and have bought them ever since, regardless of my location. I moved back to Atlanta in 2006 and relish every home Saturday on the flats, even those dreaded 12 noon games. Great memories, but the best memory of all is meeting a girl on the shuttle bus to the GT welcome event at the Guinness Storehouse pub on my first day in Dublin, Ireland for the Georgia Tech Boston College season opener in 2016. She was also a Tech grad, and we both had traveled there alone for the game. It turns out that she lived just a mile or so from me in Atlanta, so I married her.
Kurt Jacobus.
My favorite Georgia Tech tradition? Without a doubt, it has to be the Rambling Wreck from Georgia Tech, our fight song. It's instantly recognizable. It's been sung by presidents and other world leaders. It says in a single word who we are, engineers, and good ones at that. And it has a little whiff of everyday life and its references to gambling and drinking. But most importantly, it has a phrase in it that will resonate with anyone that has set foot on the Georgia Tech campus, and that is, "To hell with Georgia."
Blake Moret.
This is Blake Moret, and the best decision that I made as a student at Georgia Tech was to more fully apply myself at the beginning of my junior year. I certainly got better grades, but more importantly, it taught me humility in that I was going to have to work hard for results. It taught me first things first and something about the importance of persistence. And at the end, I still had enough time for fun, maybe with more satisfaction than previously.
Keith Obanilla.
Hi, I'm Keith Obanilla, and my favorite tradition at Georgia Tech has to probably relate to Georgia Tech football. I remember as a student, I used to be really excited about some of our big in-conference ACC rival games. So for instance, when Florida State would come into town and play Georgia Tech at Bobby Dodd, it was a really exciting time. And I remember as a tradition, right around the start of fourth quarter, the Georgia Tech band would play something I used to call our Georgia Tech Budweiser song. And to see the crowd bouncing was just exciting, tons of energy, and obviously hopefully cheer us on to a win. And it's really cool to see students still keep up that tradition today. My best decision as a student probably was deciding to study electrical and computer engineering. Georgia Tech and Texas Instruments have had a long-standing partnership, and the signal processing lab at Georgia Tech that's sponsored by Texas Instruments really served as a foundation for me studying signal processing and has helped become the foundation for my career currently at Texas Instruments. And my worst decision as a student, more than likely it was spending several hours while studying at the Student Center and eating a ton of Chick-fil-A. No offense against Chick-fil-A because I love it, but probably I should have been eating something a little bit healthier. But,
James Salter.
Georgia Tech had a couple of traditions that were phased out shortly after my 5.5 years of attendance. The first was slide rules. I started Tech with a slide rule that cost $100 and ended Tech with a Texas Instruments 100 function calculator that cost $40. That was fun to live through. The second was drown proofing. I know a lot of y'all remember drown proofing at Georgia Tech. I grew up around the water and could swim like a fish, but the hardest thing I've ever had to do in the water is Georgia Tech drown proofing. 45-minute survival test with my hands and feet tied up. Bobbing, don't touch the bottom. Only way out is to pass out and have the coach hook you with that 20-foot long hook. I'm proud of it, but it would clearly be a plaintiff's attorney dream today. Absolute torture. I love Georgia Tech.
Isaac Scott.
My favorite Georgia Tech tradition by far was homecoming, specifically the Ramblin' Wreck Parade. Our fraternity Talk-Hi Peps line had a big group that was, I think they lived the entire year just to put on their grease suits and work for a week building in the large contraption category, as I remember. And in 1973, we took the big prize building a 70-foot long dragon with 3 operating drive systems, one that was a water wheel enclosed in plexiglass, another steam-driven, and the third, a 350 V8 Chevy engine with fire coming out the dragon's mouth. So don't know that they allowed that anymore, but that particular year was something to see and will always be etched in my memory as a great memory.
Sophia Velastagui.
The worst decision I made as a student was graduating from Georgia Tech in 3 years versus 4. Although I received scholarships, I was putting myself through college and helping my family, working 30-hour weeks while attending school full-time. And so I felt the need to graduate as quickly as possible. In hindsight, I would have stayed the full 4 years to explore all the topics I was interested in, like psychology and bioengineering. My time at Georgia Tech has been influential to make me the person that I am, and Georgia Tech taught me how to solve hard, complex problems, which has led my career from semiconductor, consumer electronics, to artificial intelligence. I would recommend the students to explore the edges of their interests, as well as mastering the core foundation of their degree, thereby fully leveraging all the amazing things Georgia Tech has to offer.
So please join me in congratulating our 2018 Academy of Distinguished Engineering alumni. Good news, once again, I get to herald dessert. Following our dessert, we will return to induct our newest members of the Engineering Hall of Fame. Enjoy. Okay, if we could get everyone to take their seats, please. Please take your seats. Last one sitting down gets to pay for the dinner. Okay, looks like we got a big paycheck back in the back corner over here. Lots of volunteers. Okay, may I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? It is time to recognize those chosen for the 2018 Engineering Hall of Fame. These are individuals holding an engineering degree or an honorary degree from Georgia Tech. Tech gave them an education for their careers and for their lives. They responded by building families, businesses, and communities. Their lifetime accomplishments add up to the ultimate accolade. They are truly what we fondly called one hell of an engineer. Honorees, as your name is called, please come to stage right and then step up here and make your remarks, and then we'll give you your award and take a photo.
John Ackridge.
Well, you'll be glad to know I don't have a lot of remarks prepared, so it's be just a few minutes. But General, I want to tell you one thing. Georgia Tech didn't give me anything. It was a bunch of hard work. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I tell you, I had a lot of quarters of 21, 22 hours. I did get out in 4 years, but I got out, and it wasn't given to me on the way out the door. But I think the one thing I want to say is that I think the best thing that I have done for Georgia Tech was to respond to Wayne Clough's call in 1974 to join him on his president's board. I had a son here who was a freshman at Georgia Tech, and we had not had a dean of students for 4 or 5 years. We were a tremendous research institute, bringing millions and millions of dollars every year. We had lost sight of the undergraduate student. And I said to Wayne, Okay, I'll come on your board, but you got to turn this engine around. We got to recognize the undergraduate student, right, Wayne? And we did. And guess what? We're a great undergraduate institution again, and a great research institution, doing great things for this country and for the world. Thank you very much. I really appreciate this.
Edward Gregory.
I graduated in 1970, and I was in Naval ROTC, and we were doing quarter hours back then, and we were not allowed to drop a course for any circumstance. We had to finish in 4 years, so I had many quarters of 21 hours, and I don't look back very fondly on any of it. It was tough. It was really tough. I would like to thank the College of Engineering on behalf of my family, some of whom are here tonight, for bestowing on us this tremendous honor and this totally unexpected honor. And I would also like to thank Dr. Thadhani and everyone, all of my friends at the MSE, Material Sciences and Engineering. They have been so good to me for the last 20 years. They have an outstanding mentoring program over there, and through that and through the one at Georgia College down in Milledgeville, I've had the great honor of mentoring about 50 students over the last 20 years. And as I tell the other mentors that I recruit, we mentors get a lot more out of it than the mentees do. It's just a lot of fun, and I encourage each of you to do the same thing. My degree doesn't even exist in this school anymore. I'm a textile engineer. You can't be one of those now. So I guess that makes me even more special. But anyway, it's such an honor to be here. I never dreamed that I'd be standing up here being inducted into this Hall of Fame. And I retire from YKK after 45 years next week. And I can't think of any way to end my career than standing on this stage with you receiving this honor. So thank you very much.
James McClelland.
Well, thank you so much. This was a totally unexpected honor, and one that, because it was so unexpected and such a surprise to me, I appreciate it even more than I might have otherwise. But I'll tell you, I think those of us who reach a certain point in life can look back and we can see certain decisions that were crucial, particularly crucial, and had a particularly significant impact on our lives. And certainly the decision that I made to go to Georgia Tech was the first of those. And even before I graduated, there were a couple of other decisions along the way that had really quite an impact on the path that I eventually took, which turned out to be somewhat unusual for a Georgia Tech graduate, but one that I wouldn't trade for anything. I've had the good fortune of being involved in one very long career where during the last 10 years we were really trying to bring a lot of pieces together to find some solutions to intergenerational poverty. And it was a complex task, and now I'm involved in another. I totally flunked retirement when I tried it, and in fact, I emailed my sister who lives in Florida and told her that I'd flunked retirement, and I told her what I was going to be doing. And about about 60 seconds after I hit send, why I got a reply back from her. She said, "All my life I've been hoping you would flunk at something." And what a great sister. But now I'm involved in another very complex challenge of trying to substantially reduce this opioid problem that we've already heard some about this evening, and it's another one where we got a lot of work to do and need to be hitting on about 100 different fronts at once. But we got a lot of people working with us on that, and we're going to make a serious dent in this thing. And it's not going to take us as long as it did to create this epidemic. So I will tell you that when I got reconnected here a few years ago, I was just blown away by what I saw and learned about what's happening at Georgia Tech. And I am just incredibly impressed with today's students. I know I'd never get admitted today. There's no doubt about that. But and what really impresses me as much as anything else is while, yes, they want to have good careers, of course, so many of them want to also have a positive impact on the world, and they're really serious about this, and I have no doubt they're going to do so. So I'm grateful for the impact that Georgia Tech has had on my life, and for the impact that the Institute is having on the lives of so many others, and certainly I'm deeply grateful for this recognition tonight. Thank you so much.
Robert Moeller.
Well, it's a great honor to receive this award tonight. I only have one question, and that is, can this be rescinded? Because I have a story to tell that's never been told publicly, and now is the time. It was my sophomore year at Tech. The Georgia Tech game did not go our way. We lost 3-7. And what was really disappointing about it is how all of the Georgia people said they slaughtered us. Their media said they slaughtered us. Some of you know football, but more of you in this room know math, and 3-7 is not a slaughter. So the next night, some of my fraternity brothers decided that we should slap back at Georgia for their exaggeration of the game that didn't go our way. They grabbed some things from the shed of our fraternity. They jumped in their car. They drove to the University of Georgia campus. They were dressed in all black. They put on ski masks, and they made their way to the statue of Uga the bulldog, a big metal statue on a pedestal. And then they pulled out their blowtorch, cut that stinking dog down, and buried it somewhere on the campus. About 4 in the morning, they make their way back to the fraternity house. I was a chemie, so of course I was up doing homework. And I was the president of the fraternity at the time, and they told me the story. And of course, I'm responsible for these men and their future and their lives and their careers as future criminals or whatever. So I said 2 things to them that night. The first was, on behalf of everyone from Georgia Tech, we applaud you for what you did. And second, this is going to turn into a total disaster if we don't tell them where their dog is buried. So we have to call them, but maybe not right away. So we let the entire next day go by, and as you can imagine, there were protests on campus, and people were up in arms, and the police were called, and then someone made an anonymous phone call and told them where they could dig up their stinking dog. To hell with Georgia.
Leo Vasilio.
That is a hard act to follow, for sure. I am truly humbled and certainly honored to join the Georgia Tech Engineering Hall of Fame. Since I was only in residence at Tech for my graduate degree, I differ from the rest of my class here in that I did not have the entire Georgia Tech experience. I didn't wear one of the rat hats. I only got to watch the Rambling Wreck parade one time, and I didn't have to do the swimming class. So on the good side, I can say that the 12 months that I spent here were some of the most important learning experiences of my career. My chosen field of graduate work in new construction management let me take all the courses in my major, soil mechanics and construction management, plus it gave me time to take all the other courses that I had wanted to take and had never been allowed to because I too was on the quarter system and left VPI at 220 hours, and those 21 and 22-hour quarters were no fun, for sure. The coursework that I took here gave me the best foundation for the rest of my career. As soon as I graduated here, I started my 4 years in the Air Force, where I actually got to do the things I was trained for. I first built things in Southeast Asia in support of the war effort there. Then I spent the rest of my time building things in support of the space and missiles system work. Most of that I really can't say much about, but it was very, very interesting work at a time that the world was far different from what we have today. Then I returned to the family business, and as a third generation leader, that was a fertile field for me to apply what I had learned, and Georgia Tech had prepared me extremely well. Over the 45 years of my career up to now, I have continued to build roads and bridges and other lines of business, and I've enjoyed almost every minute of that whole career. I must say, though, that I owe whatever success that I have earned to the wonderful team who has done all the heavy lifting. They make me look good, but I also accept this award in the honor of that team. I also have to say that the wonderful support of my wife of 43 years, Catherine, and our sons, Christopher and Michael, have been a wonderful thing for me. It is a wonderful thing to see your two progeny, or two sons, to join the family business and prosper. I'm sure that I still am actively at work, and I'm mentoring and ensuring a successful transition to the fourth generation, and I'm sure that they're going to do far better than what I have. I want to say thanks to all of them, and thanks to all of you.
Dennis Williams.
Well, like everyone else that's been up here tonight, this came as a big surprise, and I really thank you for this wonderful recognition. It's really an honor for me to be here tonight, and I feel really, really fortunate to be a Georgia Tech aerospace engineer graduate. I mean, I spent a fair amount of time yesterday with some students there, and it's really incredible. The caliber of students, the caliber of the school, it's just really fabulous. So as I reflected back on things that helped me be successful, I concluded there were several, but as with most things, there are a critical few. First, a very supportive wife who is always willing to take on new challenges. We moved a lot, and Roseanne, who's an artist, spent, kind of set the Olympic speed record for packing when I told her we were moving to Florence, Italy, where she had her first solo art show. But honesty, integrity, courage to take on new and unknown challenges, hard work, a little bit of luck, continuous learning, and critical thinking skills. My tech experience had a significant influence on the last three factors, to be sure. During the 4 years, and I did graduate in 4 years, and I had also had some of those 21-hour quarters, I certainly learned that hard work was needed if you wanted to be successful. The notion of continuous learning was clearly instilled, but most importantly, the ability to form an opinion based on rigorous, unbiased evaluation of the facts is a direct result of my education here. And for that, I'm very grateful. Thank you again for this wonderful recognition, and keep turning out graduates that can change the world.
All right, please join me again in congratulating all our 2018 Engineering Hall of Fame alumni.
Well, this year we established a new award, the College of Engineering Impact Award. We wanted to recognize our alumni who helped meet some of the societal challenges across the globe. Those receiving the award embrace engineering for its community and worldwide impact. They are truly guardians of the legacy of Georgia Tech engineers who are not only value-driven, but are inspired to make an impact that is hands-on and lasting. These individuals are making a difference one life at a time. I have the great pleasure of presenting the first Impact Award to Sanovation, a company founded by two of our graduates, Andrew Foote and Emily Woods. I'll let this video tell their story. Accepting the award this evening is Emily Woods, who flew from Sanovation's home in Kenya to be with us tonight. Sanovation's work touches so many important challenges: sustainable energy, infrastructure, health, deforestation, clean water, and more. They've had an amazing journey from their time here at Georgia Tech. Emily, please join me to accept this award and a donation to Sanovation to continue your work in Kenya. Congratulations.
It is an incredible honor to be here. I feel like as I look across the room, I'm one of the youngest here. When I went to Georgia Tech, not only was drown-proofing not required, it didn't exist, it wasn't allowed anymore. But I must say that my credibility from the work that I did graduating from Georgia Tech is still something recognized today. From working with our partners at CDC, which I'm going to on Monday, to a presentation that we got to do the entire UN committee a few months ago, to recently a representative in the Kenya government who said, "Oh, you went to Georgia Tech? My brother went there." That's not easy. No, it was not very easy. I think there was 3 key things at Georgia Tech that really led Andrew and I both to what we did. And the first is really the opportunities. Georgia Tech really opened up a lot of doors. When I was undergrad, I did research with Georgia Tech Research Institute, which where the first idea of solar treatment of human waste was born. To working with Engineers Without Borders was my first trip to Cameroon, where I really fell in love with doing work on the African continent. And I even met my now co-founder, Andrew Foote, and Sanovation was actually born out of an idea over a pitcher of beer at Rocky Mountain Pizza. It is incredible the way that Georgia Tech opened us up, not only to working with different majors, but also cultures. When I was a senior at Georgia Tech, my capstone design project was actually Dr. Colton's Design That Matters. And so I was combined with architecture, ID, and civil engineers to design a solar water pump and distribution system for a village in Nicaragua. And even this past semester, the new Humanitech team, which is a interdisciplinary program here at Georgia Tech, did research for us, doing a technology analysis of different things that we could use in our factories in Kenya. And I think what's so important at my time at Georgia Tech is it really did lead Andrew and I both to believe that the impossible is possible. And if you're trying to make money from human waste, you get told daily that it's not possible. And so it's incredible to stand here today to say that already in Kenya, we're providing safely managed sanitation to over 5,000 people. We have 2 patents for our work. We provide livelihood for over 100 people. And as of just last month, one of our factories actually hit 15% profit margin, being, I think, the first human waste processing factory in Africa to actually make money. So it's an incredible honor, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily. As we get ready to close our ceremony with our favorite song, I again want to congratulate all the award recipients. Mostly I want to thank General Breedlove for being such a wonderful guest host for this occasion. And especially Juliana for being our star of the evening. I would be absolutely remiss to not share the folks that really made all this happen, the incredible College of Engineering team, Lawana Ellis, Kay Kennard, Georgia Parmalee, Molly Croft, and Bridget Cruz for all of their incredible work for making this. It's been a huge pleasure to have you all with us tonight, and for those that want to linger a little bit longer, please join us for cocktails out in the reception area. At this time, please stand and welcome the Georgia Tech Alumni Marching Band and join us in the singing of the Ramblin' Wreck. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the evening.